The moment the red wine splashed across his shirt, the entire restaurant went silent. Conversations froze mid-sentence, silverware stopped in the air, and every pair of eyes turned toward the man standing alone near the bar. The two young men who had knocked over the bottle laughed loudly, pointing at him as if he were nothing more than entertainment for their night out. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that the man they humiliated was the founder of the company behind a $600 million merger that the entire city's business world had been whispering about for months. And as you will soon learn, this night would change all of their lives in ways they never imagined. So if you're watching this, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and stay until the end, because this story has a twist that will hit you straight in the heart. Ethan Hale wiped the dripping wine from his collar, his expression calm but distant. He wasn't dressed like a CEO tonight. He looked like any tired man grabbing a late dinner: simple shirt, worn jacket, and shoes that had seen better days. It had been an exhausting week, the final meetings leading up to the acquisition of his tech firm, Helion Dynamics, a company he had built from a tiny one-room idea into an empire. Tonight was supposed to be a quiet evening, just him, a meal, and the relief of knowing he had finally secured the future of hundreds of employees who believed in him. Instead, he stood there, humiliated, while the two men at the next table laughed and clapped as if they'd just performed a comedy routine. One of them, tall and smug, leaned back in his chair and said loudly, "Careful where you're standing, old man. This place is for people who can actually afford it." The words hit harder than the wine. It wasn't the insult, it was the memory it triggered. Ethan had grown up poor, working 3 jobs in college, often ignored, often overlooked, sometimes mocked just like this. And for a moment, the hurt resurfaced. But Ethan had learned long ago that power doesn't need to shout. It speaks quietly, confidently, at the right time. A soft voice broke through the tension. "Are you okay?" It was Mia, the waitress assigned to his table. She rushed to him with napkins, her face full of worry. She had seen the cruelty unfold, and her hands trembled with frustration. Ethan noticed the tired circles under her eyes, the way she carried herself, someone working hard, someone who had seen more than enough disrespect for one lifetime. "I'm fine," Ethan assured gently. "Don't worry." "But they shouldn't treat anyone like that," she muttered. "It's not right." Ethan smiled faintly. Life has a way of teaching people what's right, eventually. Across the room, the restaurant manager arrived, irritated and impatient. He didn't ask Ethan if he was okay. Instead, he turned to Mia and whispered angrily, "Why didn't you keep an eye on their table? You know they're important clients. We can't afford complaints." Ethan watched Mia shrink under the scolding. She started apologizing, even though none of this was her fault. The manager then turned to the two men, the very ones who caused the mess, and tried to laugh it off with them, offering complimentary desserts for the accident. The sight bothered Ethan more than the spilled wine. It was a familiar pattern, people in power shielding the wrong ones while those who work hardest take the blame. Ethan stepped forward calmly. "Excuse me," he said. His voice was steady, controlled. "She's not at fault." The manager didn't even look at him. "Sir, please. We're handling it." But Ethan didn't raise his voice. He simply repeated, "She's not at fault." Annoyed, the manager finally snapped, "And who exactly are you to tell me how to run my restaurant?" Ethan could have answered. He could have revealed everything right there: his ownership, his influence, the fact that he had been negotiating a long-term partnership with this very restaurant chain for months. But instead, he just looked at Mia and said quietly, "You deserve better." The rest of the dinner was uncomfortable. The men continued joking loudly. The manager hovered protectively around them. Mia tried her best to serve Ethan despite everything, her smile strained but sincere. As she brought him his check, she whispered, "I'm really sorry about this whole night." Ethan looked at her, truly looked, and saw kindness, exhaustion, integrity, qualities often ignored in a world obsessed with appearances. He signed the bill, placed it face down, and said, "Thank you for treating me with respect when others didn't." When Mia picked up the check, her eyes widened. Ethan had left a $2,000 tip outside. The cold night air hit Ethan's face as he prepared to walk home. A black SUV pulled up to the curb, and his assistant, Daniel, jumped out. "Sir, I've been calling you," Daniel said. "The board needs your final signature tonight. The other partners are already waiting in the conference hall." Ethan nodded. "Let's go." As they drove off, Daniel glanced at the wine stain. "Rough evening?" "Just a reminder," Ethan replied quietly, "of who I used to be." The SUV entered the towering glass headquarters of Helion Dynamics. Inside the top-floor conference room, dozens of executives, lawyers, and partners were gathered, papers neatly arranged, eyes full of anticipation. This was the final signing of the $600 million deal, one that would reshape the tech market and secure the company's future for decades. As Ethan stepped to the center table, the restaurant owner entered behind them, invited as part of the new partnership. The chain was expecting a substantial tech-driven upgrade through Helion's platforms. But when the owner saw Ethan, his jaw dropped. You're the man from the restaurant." The room went silent. "Yes," Ethan said calmly. I'm so sorry," the owner stammered. "I had no idea." "It's fine," Ethan said. "People rarely know who they're talking to." But then the two young men entered behind him, public relations interns working for the restaurant chain. They froze when they recognized him. Their faces drained of color. One of them whispered. "We didn't know." Ethan held up a hand. "What you did wasn't wrong because of who I am. It was wrong because of who you are becoming." Their heads lowered, then Ethan turned to the owner. "There's something we need to discuss before signing." "Anything, of course," the owner said nervously. "I want Mia promoted," Ethan said. "Better hours. Better pay. Full protection from the manager who disrespected her. And I want workplace training for every employee, on dignity, ethics, and basic human decency." The owner nodded rapidly. "Absolutely. It will be done." And, Ethan added, "those two interns will remain employed, on probation. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because they need the opportunity to grow into better men." The intern's eyes filled with shame and gratitude. Finally, Ethan sat down, took the pen, and signed the $600 million agreement. A wave of applause filled the room. Later that night, he walked out of the tower, the city lights glimmering below. He thought of the wine spilling down his shirt, of the laughter, of Mia's trembling hands, of the moment he chose calm over anger. Power over ego. Growth over revenge. Life had taught him a simple truth: you never lose by being kind, but you often lose everything by being cruel. And as he stepped into the elevator, he whispered words that could guide anyone watching: respect people. Every person. You never know whose life you're touching, or whose life will one day touch yours. So if this story moved you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that is never weakness, it's strength.